This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidui. It's Monday, July 1st. This is Africa 54. Renegade Libyan commander Khalifa Haftar orders his forces to start airstrikes on targets in Tripoli. Tens of thousands of Sudanese participate in mass street demonstrations demanding civilian rule. And a Kenyan ice hockey team hosts its first exhibition tournament. We begin tonight in Sudan, where hundreds of angry pro-democracy protesters vented their anger Monday in the city of Omdurman, just across the Nile River from Khartoum. The demonstrators railed against the ruling military council only one day after at least 7 people were killed in clashes between security forces and protesters, according to Reuters. Hundreds of thousands of people rallied across Sudan on Sunday, demanding the generals who seized power from Omar al-Bashir make way for a civilian government.
The feeling of freedom, we are trying to bring back the memories of the sit-in. Even though it is painful, but the feeling of freedom will never escape us. We will continue until the government becomes civilian.
Since the 29th of Ramadan, I have felt my blood boiling in my veins. I had to come out tonight. I had to march. I had to march for everyone killed. I had to march for all the marchers that died, march for all the girls that were raped. I had to march to achieve something, anything.
Sunday's protests were the first since June 3rd, when security forces violently broke up a protest camp in Khartoum. The opposition says at least 128 were killed, but the government puts the death toll at 61. General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, deputy head of the military council, says the generals want to reach an urgent and comprehensive agreement. Meanwhile, the European Union and several Western countries are calling on the generals to avoid bloodshed. The June 3rd raid followed the collapse of talks on a new government, a key sticking point whether it should be led by a civilian or a military leader. Ethiopia and the African Union have offered a plan for a civilian majority body, which the generals say could be the basis for new negotiations. Now to North Africa, where the fighting in Libya is about to escalate to a higher level as forces loyal to renegade Eastern Libyan military leader Khalifa Haftar prepare to launch airstrikes on targets in and around Tripoli, according to comments made Monday by one of Haftar's commanders. Commander Mohammed Manfour says the decision to start an air campaign came after traditional means of war to, quote, liberate Tripoli were exhausted. The city is now under the control of Libya's internationally recognized government. To avoid danger, Manafort is advising all citizens to stay away from militia and military camps. Now, for the very latest on the crisis in Libya, VOA regional correspondent Heather Murdoch joins me live via Skype from Tripoli. Good evening, Heather. The Western-backed government has control of key positions now in Libya, but does this signal a turning point in the direction the country is heading?
Well, it certainly looked like that as of Thursday and Friday, when the Western-backed government, the internationally backed government, took over the town of Herian, which is a strategic point in which they say cut off the supplies of the troops of Khalifa Haftar from the east, who is trying to take over Tripoli. However, since then, there has been some retaliation already, and Haftar and his commanders have promised to attack the airports and has already attacked Turkish interests in Libya and say that they will continue to retaliate.
Now, Heather, given that Haftar has threatened to, launch heavy airstrikes in Tripoli, where are the two sides heading?
Well, right now, the two sides seem to be heading in very opposite directions. Ideologically, the eastern side, or at least those that follow the strongman Haftar and himself, are looking at a Libya that is united under the Libyan National Army with a single strong leader. On the west, they were hoping for negotiations and elections. In fact, before this conflict began, they were about to head into peace talks between the two separate Eastern and Western governments that have been ruling Libya for about 5 years. Those peace talks were derailed by the battle, but election plans that were for municipal elections that were already underway before the war began are still taking place for the most part.
Now, Heather, very briefly, what is the human cost of this war, economic impact as well?
So far, more than 94,000 people have been displaced and fled their homes, and at least 650 people have been killed, and that includes civilians. Aid workers say that this human cost, while great, they're not able to handle much more. We spoke to people about a month ago, and even then they were saying they were almost at that limit. Also, within the city of Tripoli, since it's been at war in its suburbs for so long, there's also issues of overcrowding, infrastructure is being reduced, and everyday life is becoming harder and harder.
Heather, thank you so much. VOA regional correspondent Heather Murdoch coming to us live via Skype from Tripoli. Now, a new rehabilitation center on the Kenyan coast is working to help heroin addicts quit drugs and turn their lives around. The new facility, operated by the Kenya Red Cross, opened 6 months ago in the remote village of Lamu. As Ruud Elmendorp reports from Lamu, the center is renewing hope for addicts, many of whom have easy access to hard drugs and often turn to a life of crime.
43-year-old Musa Mohammed is one of the 18 clients here at the Kenya Red Cross Drug Rehabilitation Center in Lamu. Musa began using heroin 14 years ago after hearing promises it would enhance his love life.
And then I tried once, and after I try, I find it was true. And then I keep on trying, and after a couple of days, I want to stop, and I was addiction already, so I couldn't able to stop.
The National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, says there are 40,000 heroin users across the Kenyan coast. Many reside in Lamu, frequenting drugs dens. Red Cross volunteer Nourain Mohammed visits the drug dens. Here the heroin high collides with the bleak reality of life as a desperate drug addict. 43-year-old Yusuf Yunus wants to stop.
Now I have 2 children of mine who will get in trouble. I don't know what to do because I am high. I am not healthy for them, and I don't know how to get money. I cannot help my children when I am high.
The rehabilitation center helps by giving clients medication to suppress withdrawal symptoms and counseling. Officials say high unemployment and easy access to drugs are fueling the drug problem.
So when you combine these things, it makes it easy for someone to just get into the drugs. The idleness and also the availability of these drugs within where they live.
Since it opened 6 months ago, the Kenya Red Cross Center has treated nearly 30 people. Even though thousands of drug users remain untreated, officials say this rehab center and others along the Kenya coast are making a difference.
Even saving the lives of 100 people, to us, that is more important than just giving up the fight.
As the clients head for prayers, they share a bond of fighting against a stressful addiction. Their goal? To regain control over themselves and their futures. Ruud Elmendorp for VOA News, Lamu.
Now for the latest news and scores from the Africa Cup of Nations, we head to Cairo, where Africa 54 sports guru Sunday Shomari is standing by. Good evening, Sunday. Now, last night, Uganda became first East African country to qualify for the last AFCON 16th place. What are the reactions, Sunday?
Esther, I will tell you that Ugandans are very happy despite the loss last night 2-0 against the host nation. But they're very happy because, as I said before, they did it again as they did in 1978. Now they're going to the second round with a lot of hope. And also, Esther, to tell you the truth, they're very happy because situation right now is different. So what's going to happen after this round, we don't know. But Ugandans right now, Esther, are very happy. And tonight the team is already taking a cruise ship to the Nile River, if you don't mind.
Right, Sunday, closer to Uganda. Kenya and Senegal are playing next. The stakes are high. What are the coaches and fans saying about these camps?
Esther, the stakes are very high because Kenya and Senegal, both teams are facing elimination tonight. If anyone loses this game, it's definitely going home. And the Lions of Teranga, Senegal, are hurt because they lost the last game against Algeria. Kenya are triumphant and now have hopes after winning against their brothers from another mother in Tanzania. But tonight is a very special game because in history books, Kenya has never won against Senegal. So tonight, they want to go against that. And the coach says Kenya will have to do it, do or die. This is a winning game. But a win or a draw will mean Kenya will be on the very good track or on the right track to head to the round of 16, Esther.
Now, Sandy, staying on Kenya, we saw Dennis Onyango, Kenya's Dennis Onyango, being carried out of the field. He didn't finish the game. Do we know what his condition is like?
Yes, Esther. Dennis Onyango is the team captain, just to correct, he's the team captain of Uganda. And he fell last night in the game, and he was stretched out of the game, as you said. I spoke to him after the game, and this is what he had to say.
I had a little bit of dizziness because I had flu before the game, 2 days to the game, and my sugar levels dropped, but I'm feeling much better. I think it was more of the sugar levels dropping, and I was feeling dizzy. When you look at a team like Egypt, you give them such opportunities towards the game and towards the end of the game and the start of the game, they will punish you. Those are the goals they score in every tournament or every time they play. So for me, I was just upset because I reminded them that this is the crucial time they score, but then we conceded 2 goals in the last 15 minutes, which was very sad.
Very sad. And what do you tell Ugandans right now watching you?
They should keep believing in us, supporting us, because we've done better than this and we can do better than this in the next round.
You think you will do what they did in 1978?
Anything is possible because we've seen the so-called small teams like Madagascar winning against Nigeria. So anything is possible. We just need to believe.
Sunday, indeed, that's Dennis Onyango of Uganda. You see, they are from the other mother. They also have Dennis Onyangos over there, but Dennis Onyango of Crest Cranes, Uganda. Now, Sunday, Tanzania is facing Algeria. Any updates on what is at stake here? Who is likely to win this round?
Yes, Esther, this is a very crucial game for Tanzania, Esther, although they're heading out. But, Esther, let me tell you, these games, when you come in, you need to get something to go back home with, at least 1 point or 3 points. So Tanzania, having lost those 2 games, they have to put their hearts out tonight, at least get a point or 3 points to go home. And from their camp, unfortunately, the team goalkeeper, experienced Aishi Manula, is not going to be playing tonight because of an injury, as well as a center-back, Kelvin Yondani, is also going to miss this game. So Tanzania is going in to fight, but some very key players are going to miss this game. So Tanzania has a mountain, Esther, to climb. But who says you can't do it? You saw Madagascar, a new team, for the very first time in African Cup of Nations, made it to the round of 16 after beating Nigeria 2-0 last night. So things do happen, Esther. Miracles do happen, and you never know what happens after the 90 minutes, Esther.
Miracles indeed happen, Sunday. So we'll see what happens. We'll chat tomorrow. Thank you so much, Sunday. It's always a pleasure talking to you. That's Africa 54 sports guru Sunday Shomari reporting live from Cairo. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, East Africa's only ice hockey team hosts an exhibition tournament. We'll be back.
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikha Salih, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Last year, gin consumption in South Africa grew by an astonishing 50%, to half a pint for every man, woman, and child. No wonder that distilleries are mushrooming, trying to give a colonial tipple a distinctive flavor of the Fynbos. From under a dozen gin distilleries in 2015, there are now around 65 nationwide, according to the Gin Box Subscription Club, supplying outlets from artisanal and farmers markets in Cape Town to the gastronomic hotspots of Johannesburg. Beer easily remains South Africa's favorite alcoholic drink, and the higher-margin craft beers have also enjoyed a recent upswing. But analysts say the beer market, craft and commercial, has reached its ceiling, and that South Africans are joining a global trend in shifting to whiskey, brandy, and gin, especially among women between 18 and 35. Next up, this art studio in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, could easily be mistaken for a car showroom. But a closer look reveals that it is filled with pieces of artistic furniture that give old car body parts a new lease of life. The cars being repurposed here are mostly classic models like the Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen Beetle that were popular in Nigeria in the 1990s. The vehicles were sold for their resilience, and many people have fond memories attached to them. However, most families are finding it difficult to maintain these classic manual vehicles. This inspired artist Isaiah Tantua to create a line of unconventional furniture using the vehicles. His furniture costs between $1,400 to $7,000, depending on the complexity of the piece and car parts used. And finally, 4 in 10 roses sold in Britain are imported from Kenya, providing vital jobs that keep thousands out of poverty. Reducing imports might be good for the environment, but could have a devastating impact on workers. A love affair with fresh flowers has led to a blooming market in Kenya, where goods are flown to Europe to be sold in supermarkets. The Oserian Company is based just north of Nairobi, in Kenya's Rift Valley, and employs 4,500 people. Oserian currently uses 100% green energy. They're hoping to be carbon neutral by 2020, but the footprint of daily air freight stands in their way. Oserian provides free housing for staff, alongside free childcare and schools for their dependents. And that's what's trending today.
Now, the third meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has drawn praise as well as criticism. Critics of President Trump say he is showering attention on a dictator without getting any concessions on the North Korean nuclear development. But others see it as a ray of hope for permanent peace on the Korean peninsula. VOA's Latza Hawk reports.
Many people in South Korea have lived through a lifetime of tensions with their northern neighbor, caused by Pyongyang's nuclear tests, separation from family members, and threats of worse to come. Any development that signals a possibility of permanent peace raises hope that it may happen.
Even though this meeting was not official but a surprising one, We're welcoming it. I hope the denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula will be achieved and that we can use this momentum to get closer to the unification of our divided country.
But some South Koreans say the U.S. involvement is only delaying reconciliation and reunification between the two neighbors.
I think North and South Korea should stop paying attention to the United States and solve the problems which we can solve by ourselves.
Critics have called the meeting a political gesture without substance.
I think the meeting is a one-time event for Trump's re-election, and I think President Moon is trying to take advantage of this meeting.
U.S. independent presidential candidate Bernie Sanders told ABC's This Week that the United States needs real diplomacy.
I have no problem with him sitting down with Kim Jong-un in North Korea or any place else. But I don't want it simply to be a photo opportunity. The whole world's media was attracted there. What's going to happen tomorrow and the next day?
Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro said Kim is the only one who gets benefits from the Sunday meeting.
The cost to the United States and to our allies is that he's raising the profile, growing the strength of a dictator.
Both in the United States and abroad, there are those who welcome any kind of peaceful encounter. Pope Francis among them.
In the last few hours, we saw in Korea a good example of the culture of encounter. I salute the protagonists with a prayer that such a significant gesture will be a further step onto the road of peace, not only on that peninsula, but for the good of the entire world.
Earlier Sunday, Trump became the first ever sitting U.S. president to set foot in North Korea. He later announced that stalled nuclear talks between Washington and Pyongyang would resume. Zlarica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Miami, a U.S. city known for its diversity and its close connection with immigrants from Haiti, Cuba, and elsewhere, hosted 2 nights of Democratic presidential debates last week. Democrats are hoping this early outreach will resonate with one of their strongest bases of voters, women of color. As VOA's Catherine Gibson reports, these voters are speaking up and demanding more from candidates.
For a long time. Every woman in this room has the power to influence the choice of the next president.
No one will win the nomination for president for the Democratic Party without the enthusiastic support of women of color. And no one will win the presidency without winning Florida.
Women of color make up 1 out of every 4 voters here in Florida, a must-win state for any presidential candidate. And for these women, that means approaching the 2020 presidential election with a very different perspective.
After the 2016 election, we really woke up and realized that, we need to claim our narrative, and we need to make sure that all of the candidates know that they won't be able to win without us.
African Americans and Hispanics turned out in lower numbers in the 2016 election than in the 2012 election, a shift that prevented Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton from winning key states such as Florida.
On the issue of race, I couldn't agree more that this is an issue that is still not being talked about truthfully and honestly.
2020 already looks different. The Democratic field has several candidates of color. These voters say the wide-open field shouldn't be all about who can beat President Trump.
This is our time to decide who we are as a party, not worry about potentially swaying Trump voters. That's not even the problem. We need to turn out our base. We need to turn out the people who didn't show up in 2016. That's how we're going to win.
We're so excited to be here.
Voter turnout is the goal for Andrea Mercado, one of many women in this room working to reverse minority voters' perceptions they don't matter.
We made incredible progress in 2018 by passing Voter Restoration Amendment 4 for people with felony convictions that couldn't vote. And I think if that didn't show the power of the vote and the power of mobilizing our communities, I don't know what does.
Criminal justice reform is a major concern for these voters, along with immigration.
I'm talking about a comprehensive rewrite of our immigration laws.
But they also want candidates to acknowledge their experiences in debates over health care and if the economy is working for everyone.
It's doing great for people who want to invest in private prisons, just not for the African Americans and Latinx whose families are torn apart, whose lives are destroyed, and whose communities are ruined.
And while many candidates attempt outreach in Spanish,
cada votante necesitamos la representación y cada voz necesitamos escuchar.
These women say they're looking for more.
If they want our vote,
If they want the vote of women of color, they need to be with us now, and they need to tell us what they are offering in terms of a policy platform for women of color in this country now. Not in 6 months, not 3 months before the election, but now.
Democrats hope to have started to remedy that by holding the debates here in Miami. But the verdict from voters of color won't come for another 16 months on Election Day. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Miami.
A Kenyan ice hockey team, the only one in East Africa, has hosted an exhibition tournament with teams made up from foreign diplomats. The Kenya Ice Lions hopes to bring more attention to the sport and its bid to qualify for the 2022 Winter Olympics. Sarah Kimani has more from Nairobi.
East Africa's only ice hockey team, the Kenya Ice Lions, this past weekend hosted a tournament on the region's only ice hockey rink. The exhibition pitted the Ice Lions against teams of diplomats from Europe and North America.
It's a great feeling, especially for the team Kenya, since this is our first game which we are hosting here in Kenya.
Only 5 other African countries have ice hockey teams: Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, South Africa and Tunisia. The Ice Lions grabbed international attention last year for bringing ice hockey to Kenya, a country known for long-distance runners, not winter sports.
It's a young team, but I think they're already playing an excellent game, and I must say I've been very impressed by the development lately. I had the chance to play a little bit with them before, and I think they're developing all the time, and they are already now a very good team. I like their spirit, team spirit. It's really good.
The Ice Lions are using these friendly games to practice in hopes of qualifying for the 2022 Winter Olympics. They also want to bring more attention and support to ice hockey in Kenya.
Ice hockey comes at a time when people are looking for something fresh and something that is a surprise element in terms of sports.
The U.S. diplomats team won the tournament in a close match with the Ice Lions and by just 1 point. But the real winners are Kenya's ice hockey fans and those who want to see the sport grow in East Africa. Sarah Kimani for VOA News, Nairobi.
Very interesting piece to know ice hockey in Kenya. And there's no winter in Kenya, but they've made it happen. Now, that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a good evening.